Helena Trenwall's dining room always smelled like old money and disappointment. I sat at the far end of her mahogany table, watching my wife Lara nod along to her mother's latest lecture about my failures as a husband. The crystal chandelier cast shadows across Helena's pinched face as she dissected my career in logistics, like a coroner examining a corpse. "Hayes, dear," Helena said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "When are you going to find a real job? Something worthy of my daughter?" I set down my fork carefully. 20 years of managing supply chains for one of the state's largest distributors, and she still called it playing with trucks. "I make decent money, Helena. We're comfortable." Comfortable. She practically spat the word. Lara deserves luxury, not comfort. She deserves someone with ambition. Lara's hand found mine under the table, but her grip felt cold, mechanical. "Mother has a point, Hayes. Maybe it's time to consider other opportunities." Other opportunities. Like Darren O'Brien, the hedge fund manager who'd been circling my wife like a shark for months. I'd seen them at coffee shops, noticed the way Lara's face lit up when her phone buzzed with his messages. "You know what?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood. "You're absolutely right, Helena. I should get out." The room went quiet, except for the grandfather clock ticking in the corner. Lara's cousin Bree looked up from her phone, eyebrows raised. Even Lara's father stopped cutting his turkey. "Don't be dramatic, Hayes," Lara hissed. "Sit down." "No." I grabbed my jacket from the chair. "Your mother thinks I'm not good enough, and you agree, so I'll make this easy for everyone." Helena's lips curved into a satisfied smile. Finally, some sense. I walked toward the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Lara? Don't wait up." The November air bit at my face as I climbed into my truck. My phone buzzed immediately. Lara, probably demanding I come back and apologize. Instead, I scrolled to Bree's number. "You still up for that favor?" I texted. Her response came within seconds. "Always. Meet me at my place in an hour. Bring boxes." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Bree's apartment smelled like coffee and rebellion. Tattoos covered her arms like a roadmap of poor decisions, but her eyes held more intelligence than the rest of the Trenwall family combined. She handed me a steaming mug and a manila folder thick with papers. "I've been waiting for this day," she said, settling into her worn leather couch. "Helena's been planning your replacement for months." I opened the folder. Screenshots of family group chats, printed emails, even photos of Lara and Darren at restaurants I couldn't afford. My hands shook as I read Helena's messages to her daughter. "Dax has real potential. Hayes is holding you back. Time to upgrade." "How long have you known?" I asked. "Since August, maybe earlier." Bree pulled out her laptop. "Helena thinks she's clever, but she forgets I'm in all the family chats. Look at this." She showed me a conversation from last week. Helena to Lara. "Thanksgiving is perfect. Push Hayes too far, make him leave, then comfort yourself with Dax. Clean break." The pieces clicked into place. The sudden criticism, Lara's coldness, the perfectly timed invitations for Darren to join us at social events. I'd been set up. "What do you need from me?" Bree asked. "Time, and maybe some technical support." I stood up, energy coursing through me for the first time in months. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, my absence, but on my terms. Back at our apartment, I moved with surgical precision. Clothes into garbage bags, important documents into a secure box, electronics unplugged and packed. I'd learned efficiency in logistics, every movement calculated, every item accounted for. The joint bank account took longer. I transferred my half to a new account, leaving Lara enough for rent and utilities, but nothing extra. Legally clean, morally justified. My phone buzzed constantly. Lara's messages evolved from confusion to anger to threats. I let them pile up, evidence of her true character. By midnight, the apartment looked like a crime scene in reverse. Everything valuable gone, only the furniture and Lara's belongings remaining. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter with a note. You wanted me gone. Congratulations. Red Trask met me at the storage facility. My old friend from the fire department had retired early after a back injury, but he still carried himself like he could walk through flames. He helped me load the last boxes without asking questions. You sure about this, Hayes? He asked as we locked the unit. More sure than I've been about anything in years. Where you staying? Motel for now. But I've got plans. Red grinned. Need backup? I'll let you know. Lara was waiting in our empty apartment when I returned the next morning. She sat in the single chair I'd left behind, still wearing yesterday's clothes, mascara smeared under her eyes. What have you done? Her voice cracked. I handed her the folder Bree had given me. Read it. She flipped through the pages, her face cycling through confusion, recognition, and finally, shame. When she reached Helena's messages about the upgrade plan, her shoulders sagged. Hayes, I can explain. Don't. I sat on the windowsill, maintaining distance. Your mother orchestrated this whole thing, and you went along with it. The only question is how long you've been planning to replace me. It's not like that. Then what's it like, Lara? Because from where I sit, you've been auditioning my replacement while pretending to be my wife. She threw the folder at me, papers scattering across the floor. You're pathetic. Helena was right. You have no ambition, no drive. Darren understands my potential. There it was. The truth, finally naked between us. Darren. I let the name hang in the air. The married hedge fund manager with 2 kids and a gambling problem. Her face went white. How did you... I'm not as stupid as you think, Lara. I know about the hotel rooms, the gifts, the late-night calls. I know his wife thinks he's working late when he's actually working on you. The apartment door opened and Bree walked in, carrying coffee and a laptop bag. Morning, cousin. Hayes. Thought you might want to see this. She opened her laptop and turned it toward Lara. On the screen was a social media post from Darren's wife, thanking friends for support during her difficult time and mentioning her husband's recent betrayals. Seems like someone sent Mrs. O'Brien some interesting hotel receipts, Bree said casually. Anonymous tip, of course. Lara stared at the screen, then at me. You destroyed his marriage. No, Lara. He did that when he decided to cheat with you. I just made sure his wife knew the truth. You're a monster. I stood up, brushing imaginary dust from my jacket. I'm learning. Your family's been excellent teachers. She lunged at me, but I stepped aside. 20 years of marriage, and I finally saw her clearly. Spoiled, entitled, willing to destroy anyone who didn't serve her purposes. The divorce papers are on the counter, I said. Sign them or don't. Either way, we're finished. You can't do this to me. Watch me. Darren O'Brien worked out at an expensive gym downtown, the kind with marble floors and towel service. I waited in the parking garage, leaning against his silver BMW like I belonged there. He emerged from the elevator at 7 p.m. sharp, gym bag slung over his shoulder, phone pressed to his ear, probably explaining to his lawyer why his wife had filed for divorce. Dax, I called out, using Helena's pet name for him. He turned, confusion flickering across his tanned face. Up close, he looked exactly like what he was, a middle-aged man trying too hard to stay young. Expensive haircut, designer workout clothes, the kind of confidence that came from never facing real consequences. Do I know you? He asked. Hayes Rellan, Lara's husband. His face changed, jaw tightening. Look, man, I don't want any trouble. Too late for that. I pushed off his car, noting how he stepped backward. You've been having an affair with my wife. Your wife found out yesterday. Lara's moving out of our apartment today. Seems like trouble found us all. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I pulled out my phone, showing him photos Bree had taken of him and Lara at various restaurants. 3 months of evidence, hotels, gifts, romantic dinners. You're not even discreet. He reached for his car door, but I blocked his path. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to stay away from my wife. Completely. No calls, no texts, no accidental meetings, because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone in your professional circle knows exactly what kind of man you are. You can't threaten me. I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it sounded. Dax, I'm not threatening you. I'm educating you. See, I spent 20 years building supply chains, managing logistics, solving problems, and you've become a problem. Red's truck pulled into the garage, engine rumbling. My backup, right on schedule. Darren's eyes darted between me and the truck. What do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. Your wife understands. Lara's starting to understand. Now it's your turn. I stepped aside, letting him reach his car door. But as he fumbled with his keys, I leaned close. Stay away from her, Dax. This is your only warning. He drove off fast, tires squealing against concrete. Red rolled down his window. That looked friendly, he said. Just a conversation between gentlemen. Right. Coffee? Make it a beer. I've got more gentlemen to talk to. Helena's house looked different in daylight. Smaller, shabbier, like a movie set losing its magic. I rang the doorbell and waited, hands in my pockets, whistling an old tune my father used to hum. She opened the door wearing a silk robe and disappointment. Hayes, I thought you'd left town by now. Just tying up loose ends. I held up a manila envelope. May I come in? She led me to her sitting room, the one with family portraits covering every surface. Generations of Trenwall wealth and privilege staring down at us. What do you want? She asked. To thank you. I sat in her favorite chair without being invited. Your plan worked perfectly. Lara showed her true colors. I got out of a loveless marriage, and everyone's exactly where they belong. Helena's eyes narrowed. What plan? I opened the envelope, spreading printed screenshots across her coffee table. Her own words, in black and white, detailing every step of her scheme to replace me with Darren. August 15th, I read aloud. Lara needs to understand that Hayes is beneath her station. Dax has real potential. I looked up. September 3rd. The Thanksgiving confrontation should push Hayes to leave voluntarily. Much cleaner than divorce proceedings. Her face had gone pale, but she maintained her composure. Those are private family communications. Were private. Now they're evidence in my divorce filing. I gathered the papers. But that's not why I'm here. Then why? To tell you about Darren's wife, Sarah O'Brien. Lovely woman, works for the State Attorney General's office, specializes in financial crimes. Helena's cup rattled against its saucer. Funny thing about Sarah, she's very thorough when she's angry. Started digging into her husband's finances, looking for hidden assets. Found some interesting connections to your family trust. I don't know what you're talking about. The Trenwall Family Trust, the one you've been managing for 15 years. Sarah found some irregularities in the distributions. Money that should have gone to beneficiaries but somehow ended up in personal accounts. Helena stood abruptly. You need to leave. Already am. I headed for the door. But Helena, you might want to call a lawyer. Sarah O'Brien is very good at her job. Outside, Bree was waiting by my truck, grinning like she'd won the lottery. How'd it go? She asked. Better than expected. Your grandmother's about to have a very interesting conversation with some federal investigators. Good. She's had it coming for years. Bree climbed into the passenger seat. What's next? Now we wait. Sometimes the best revenge is just getting out of the way and letting people destroy themselves. The construction site on Millfield Road had been abandoned for 2 years. a half-finished office complex that ran out of funding when the economy shifted. Perfect for what I had in mind. I'd sent Lara a text that morning. Need to talk. Important. Meet me at the old Millfield site at 8 p.m. Come alone. She'd responded immediately. Fine, but this better be about reconciliation. Reconciliation. After everything that had happened, she still thought she could manipulate the situation to her advantage. Red helped me set up the scene. Work lights positioned to create dramatic shadows, a folding table with chairs, documents arranged like evidence at a trial. We even brought a cooler of beer because some conversations required refreshments. You sure about this? Red asked as we finished. It's time to end this properly. Lara arrived at exactly 8 p.m., picking her way across the construction debris in heels that cost more than most people's rent. She'd dressed for seduction, tight dress, perfect makeup, the works. Hayes, she called out. This is ridiculous. Why couldn't we meet somewhere civilized? I stepped into the light, gesturing to the chairs. Because civilized is what got us into this mess. Sit down, Lara. She remained standing, arms crossed. I'm not playing games. What do you want? To show you something. I opened the folder on the table. Financial records. Your mother's been embezzling from the family trust for years. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. The federal investigation starts Monday. Her face went white. That's impossible. Sarah O'Brien is very thorough. She found everything. Dummy accounts, forged documents, falsified distributions. Helena's looking at serious prison time. You did this. Her voice shook with rage. You destroyed my family. No, Lara, your family destroyed itself. I just stopped playing along. I stood up, moving closer. Your mother tried to manipulate my marriage. You betrayed our vows, and Darren threw away his family for a cheap affair. I didn't make any of those choices. We can fix this, she said desperately. I'll leave Darren. We'll work things out. There's nothing to fix. We're finished. She lunged at me then, nails aimed at my face, but I caught her wrists, holding her at arm's length while she struggled. Let me go. Gladly. I released her and stepped back. Sign the divorce papers, Lara. Take whatever settlement I've offered and start over somewhere else. Because this, I gestured around the abandoned construction site. This is what's left of us. Nothing but empty promises and broken foundations. She stared at me for a long moment, mascara running down her cheeks. Then she turned and walked away, heels clicking against concrete until the sound faded into darkness. Red emerged from the shadows, applauding slowly. That was beautiful, man. Like poetry. It was necessary. I began packing up the lights. Some bridges need to burn completely before you can build something new. The divorce papers arrived signed 3 weeks later, along with a note from Lara's lawyer confirming she'd moved to California. No forwarding address, no final message, just a legal signature ending 20 years of marriage. Helena's arrest made the local news, a brief mention of financial crimes and a prominent family's fall from grace. Bree called to tell me the family trust was being dissolved, its remaining assets distributed to legitimate beneficiaries. Darren O'Brien's hedge fund collapsed when investors learned about his personal scandals. His wife took the kids and moved back to her family in Vermont. Last I heard, he was selling insurance and living in a studio apartment. I sat in my new office, reviewing supply contracts for a company that had offered me a partnership. Better money, more responsibility, the kind of opportunity Helena always said I'd never find. Red knocked on my door, carrying 2 cups of coffee. How's the first day? Good, different. I accepted the coffee gratefully. Feels like starting over. That's because you are. He settled into the chair across from my desk. You know I never liked Lara. Too much like her mother. Why didn't you say anything? Would you have listened? Probably not. Sometimes people have to reach their own conclusions, even when the evidence is staring them in the face. My phone buzzed with a text from Bree. Drinks tonight? I'm buying. I showed Red the message. Want to join us? Wouldn't miss it. Outside my window, the city stretched toward the horizon, full of possibilities I'd never noticed while trapped in a marriage that was slowly suffocating me. 20 years of logistics had taught me that every system eventually needs restructuring. Every process requires optimization. I'd finally applied those lessons to my own life. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Rellan, your 2 p.m. appointment is here. Send them in. Time to get back to work. I had a new life to build, and this time, I was doing it on my own terms. The door opened, and I stood to greet my first client as a partner in my own firm. No more working for other people's dreams, no more accepting other people's limitations. Helena had been wrong about everything except one thing. I did deserve better. I just had to be willing to take it.